Welcome back to another episode of the Dutchy and Swoop Show. It is going to be an action-packed episode. Lots to bloody talk about. The Pies have lost 3 of their last 4. They've won 1 of their last 2, if you want to put a glass half full spin on it. Mate, how you feeling? How you going?
I must admit, I'm a bit flat after the game because I went along again, second game in a row, and took the wife went along, and my daughter, one of her friends, and was really excited about that game. And knew it was going to obviously a big blockbuster game against the Lions. Couldn't quite get it done, could we, mate?
No.
We're a bit disappointing again.
Yeah. I woke up on Sunday morning and I had like footy come downs. I was pretty down in the dumps. Like that. Footy doesn't usually, at the moment, with like what I do with Swoop and stuff, I'm pretty good with like compartmentalising. I get it out on my review and I feel good. But this one just really hit me where it hurt.
This one hit me real hard because, number one, we got beaten convincingly for the first time.
Yep.
I got beat. My team, Marby, got beat convincingly for the first time all year. Both my kids' finals lost as well on a Sunday. So I've woken up just with a pretty bad headache on Monday morning. Pretty keen to get things back on track in more ways than one, in all areas, if possible, this week. Starting with Hawks tomorrow night.
Starting with the Hawks, it's going to be a big game. But I guess before we get into that, because it's going to be, well, that's like a do or die clash. I know we're second, but it's a do or die clash.
That's
but
right.
Let's break down this Brisbane game a little bit. We had a coffee before the potty to sort of chat through it and stuff like that. And what were a couple of things that you saw from that game where you you step back and you go, hang on a second, this isn't Collingwood?
Yeah, the number one thing for me was, I look back to 2023, I think, and I stepped into a couple of meetings in 2023, just being invited down to the club. And the one common theme for me was a bit of a dare, wanting to play in heat, wanting to play through the corridor and take the game on through the corridor, using the open side on turnover and D50 turnovers. I'm seeing at the moment, yes, teams are defending us quite well. Yeah. But I'm literally sitting right where the cheer squad is. That's where I sat, and slightly elevated. And I could see perfectly from defence that we were just too dour with our ball movement. We were just a little bit too slow, a little bit too safe, getting the ball back in D50 and then just playing the line again, just kicking to a contest far too often. The opposition have worked out that we do like to play the line. But there was options there. Like a couple of times, I think Hoskin Elliott got right back in defence. He was all on his own for the switch of play, and we didn't use him. And he had his arms up, didn't use him. Went long down the line. Brisbane got the ball to ground, had another stoppage, and then they were able to set up their defence again. We've just got to throw caution to the wind and play with a bit more courage at the moment with our ball use. It's nearly like the long down the line and that that contested ball. Through that territory kick has worked for us, but for whatever reason, the opposition are blocking off our exits really well. They're playing the line really well. Like Stephen Harris Andrews on the weekend, as soon as the ball left his D50 and rolled through the ground and went to the other end of the ground, he would roll and just track the ball around about 60 metres behind the footy, 70 metres behind the footy, and whichever side it came out of Collingwood's defence, he would block up the exit. And I don't think that we played him that well. And I didn't have big possessions, but we saw that he had 15 spoils
and 9 possessions,
which is huge. Still took 6 marks and had those intercepts, like you said. So he's an important cog to that. And if you don't shift lanes, you don't go around him, he's going to make you pay. And it's really hard to get through him. So you've really got to find a way to shift lanes, overlap, and get over that bubble. Or if you can't do that, you probably got to tag him because...
Which we saw in the grand final.
Exactly right. So instead of that ball going 15 metres with a golden fist, the ball's worst case scenario is coming to ground and we're getting some good looks at ground level.
I think you hit the nail on the head where at the moment we just feel so stagnated. Like we'll get the ball on D50 and this year we've pretty much been a long down the line team, but there's times where you just got to throw the game plan out and go, okay, hang on, we've got Dan Houston, we've got Josh Daicos, we've got Nick Daicos, who are just run and gun half-backs. Markov, if you want as well, we'll talk about him in a second because that pissed me off. But we've got these players where you can switch to play, you can run, you can create from them. And I feel like at the moment we're just stopping and just waiting, and like, well, no other options, straight down the line, and it comes back out. And more often than not, that's where we're getting caught out. And it looked great in, the first half where teams weren't figuring us out, because now we're becoming more of a forward half team than we were, a defensive half or back 50 half in 22-23. But now I think the game plan just has to change again, and we have to evolve. And how much do you think of it is, I know this sounds stupid and this is me being a conspiracy theorist, but how much is it not wanting to show our hand leading into finals, or how much is it genuinely we're just not all there?
Well, it could have been on the weekend, because you don't want to show your hand against Brisbane. Like if we were to finish 1 and 2, and then both go into a prelim and then into a grand final at best case, you don't want to show your hand in it for a grand final what you're going to do, do you? But you also got to make sure you qualify first or second, so you get a home final. So at this point in time, it's still important to make sure that you lock in that spot in the top 2 more than anything, because you might not make a grand final if you don't do that. So I think there's maybe a smidgen of that. Maybe they might tag a Harris Andrews moving forward. I don't know. But there's obviously some telling parts in this game plan. There has been a shift, and there's no doubt it looks to me like they don't want to open themselves up defensively, so they don't play. And that's what happens if you open the ground up, if you play through heat through the corridor, and you take those riskier kicks, you do open yourself up, going back the other way for scores against. But you got to back your skills in. You got Houston back there, and this is why I'd like Nick Daicos to spend at least 50% of the time at half back. You got Houston down there, who's probably as good a kick as anyone in the league. Then you got Nick Daicos down there. You got some fast running overlap runners from behind, which will help open the game right up. Also, I'm not sure if they're real set on their wings at the moment, because you see a lot of guys rolling through their wings.
Yeah, they're just cycling through them, aren't they?
Yeah, they're just sort of using different guys, and I still spend a bit of time on here. Hoskinelli spent a time on there. Even I think Lipinski occasionally goes
Chris
up
was
the
there
wing.
as well.
Chris was there. So I reckon, like in 2023, Steele was on one side, and I think even Josh was on the other. And you just had two guys running their lanes up and back.
Yep.
And then because our players that we had faith in, they're good kicks, and inside he's an experienced player, and we play through him, you're more likely to use the open side and play through space when those guys are on from D50 on the way out. So I'd like to see us get more settled with our team from a position point of view. And I think that might work for us if we're settled with our wings.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point where you said, we probably aren't switching it because we don't want to be open defensively. How much do you think that is because, we've been without Jeremy Howe since round 19, so that Gold Coast game, he goes down in the first quarter or whatever it was, and we've been without Billy Frampton since injured himself in the St Kilda game, so we haven't had him since the West Coast game. Yeah. So how much do you think that they're just not comfortable with the defence as how it is? Because really, it's only Darcy Moore as your big defender, who we know isn't a one-on-one defender. Yeah. So that's fine. And then you got Charlie Dean there, who isn't a second defender. He's more of a fourth defender, if you will.
Yeah.
So how much, is getting Howe back this week and potentially Billy Frampton going to help us with that transitional overlap run game plan?
I would have had Frampton in last week. When you look at Henry Smith,
we lost at our team selection.
I don't know. I haven't even tracked Brisbane going back, but Henry Smith, to me, I know he kicked, 3 or 4 goals. But he got one from a free kick, which was, 50-50. He got one from the centre where they centred it in. It went about 12 metres. And he was a good kick for goal, don't get me wrong, but he's not a star. This guy's just making his way in the AFL. But you got Dean, who's 195, 196 on a 202 centimetre key forward. Put Frampton on him, a 200 centimetre key back. I mean, he's not a big move. I assume that Smith isn't a high endurance athlete.
Yeah.
You can probably bring him back and safely say that Frampton can do the job on him. Dean whacks the arms around when he's on a big guy,
and that's it.
Gives away a free kick goal, gone. And that's all it takes now. You've got to be as big and as strong in the contest as these guys. I would have had Frampton in last week. Howe's going to be important, obviously. And Howe's like an elite kick, as well. So he's one of those guys that can hit those, long 45s out of defence dead-eye dick, so to
We've
speak.
seen that so many times where he starts the attack from a kick-in or whatever it may be.
Well, you can intercept, number one, and then you get your best looks off intercepts because, the opposition are in a position to get proactive, and all of a sudden they're on the back foot, and then you find space. So, number one, you can get the intercept and he can kick. So that is a weapon that we need back in the side ASAP.
And I think that whole piece on team selection, I really do think, and I've seen a lot of comments and stuff saying that the game was, for the most part, and this is not taken away from Brisbane because they played fantastically, but it was lost that team selection a lot. And before we talked about Bobby Hill and Jordan De Goey, and I was adamant that it was only going to be either one of them coming in. I'm glad that they both got time in. That was great. But to start Bobby Hill on the pine and as a sub, and then use Markov as a forward who wasn't even playing a defensive forward role, I thought was just a waste of Bobby. And Geordie coming off, he was playing 70% or whatever it may have been, which is fair enough. That's what high performance wanted him to do. I thought he was probably the only one that was trying to win us the contested possession, win us the clearance, and then you go off the GPS just to take him out, and then you lose that contested possession going into that third and fourth quarter. Yeah, how did you see it?
Oh, yeah, look, when I look back on it, everything's good in hindsight because if it works and you win, you're going, oh, geez, we're able to win. We manage players and we keep sailing on for another week and then, Fly's a genius. But looking back at it now, you go, okay, well, let's start De Goey, let's start Bobby. And then, depending on how the game's going, you can rotate let's say it's Hill that you rotate more heavily to get him through 70% game time or 60, 70% game time. And the De Goey still comes off for maybe a Markov to come on as a sub late in the game with some speed off half-back or whatever the case may be. That's how I would have played it because you want your best on, when the game's out to be won. And the game was won certainly, early in the game when Brisbane got on top early. And then it's hard. They're invested in the game. They got confidence in the game. And then it's hard to really, pull back that margin and gain that confidence back in our favour. So I would have had those two guys on to start and then hopefully get the game where you want it some stage in the last quarter in a winning position and you can pull one of them off and leave them off the ground. So that's how I would have done it, but I'm not coaching Collingwood. Fly is, and either way, he's put him in still a pretty good position with a couple of troops to come back. Yeah, there's some worrying signs, but for me, I look at it and I go, you know what? At some stage, there's ebbs and flows in every season. Yep. We've lost 3 of the last 4. Consider that Gold Coast are near impossible to beat up there. When you look at the loss, they beat Brisbane 2 weeks ago by 10 goals. And we nearly knocked them off and were a record margin behind, at half time. That actually is a very good loss as far as I'm concerned. Fremantle were coming for us and played extremely well. Yep. And what have they won? 9 of the last 10 now?
Well, 10 of the last 11 now.
10 of the last 11.
Insane.
So they're a bloody good side.
Yep.
And they've thrown everything, and they've obviously done their homework. The one thing I've noticed is what Fremantle did, and also a little bit what Brisbane did, is they smashing Darcy Moore behind the footy and making sure he can't get the aerial drop space. So he's not able to jump for those. Even if someone's having a set shot on 50, they're just smacking into his body and pushing him away from the ball drop space, the aerial ball drop space. And they're doing that really well, and they're sharing it. Fremantle shared it. They did a little bit with Voss. Yep. Then the other fella, the other key position, Darcy, the big ruckman, was doing it at times. And all their keys were taking turns and pushing him away, and the other tall would do the work in the air and push the ball through or, take the mark or whatever the case may be. So, so they've done their homework on these guys. There's no question about that. And they're just saying with Darcy Cameron. He's so good at both ends down the line defensively and offensively. They're blocking him, they're bumper barring, not allowing him to get to the line quick enough because he just sprints to the line. Yep. Now you've got 3 players on the chain bumping into him. By the time he gets there, he's too cooked to jump for it, or he's not in the right position to jump for it.
And that's why, I know a lot of media is quick to jump on Darcy Moore as the easy target. The narrative is he let Patrick Voss kick 6 on him. That's incorrect. He let Logan Morris kick 6 on him. That's incorrect. But Darcy Moore is playing the role of 3 players at the moment. Having to play Billy Frampton's role, having to play Darcy's role, having to play Jeremy Howe's role with Charlie Dean. You've noticed on the weekend where he obviously doesn't have, Charlie Dean's still young, he's still learning, doesn't have a lot of trust in him, so he's having to leave his man, try and smash a contest just so Dean isn't wrapping his arms around him and giving away a free kick. Doesn't work out all the time. But like you said, putting body on Darcy, when you have Jeremy Howe back and Billy Frampton back, they're going to be thinking, okay, we can put on Darcy, but then we got Jeremy Howe jumping anyway. Or we got Billy Frampton that's just going to stand in as a brick wall. Yeah. So those two guys back helps Darcy play his role, will help him play his role. And another guy is Mick Stay as well, who has had to have played as a forward, as a ruck, and he's Darcy's cover. When Darcy goes off for a rest, it's Mick Stay playing full back. Yeah. So he's cooked. So no wonder why he's not performing well either.
Yeah, and here's a question for you. Like, when the games tighten up against these quality teams and you go to finals, the ball comes in congested scenarios more often than not.
Yep.
Because you can't find that. They slow you down. They defend a lot better. They cause delay. You're forced to go long down the line. You're forced to go in slow inside 50. Guess who becomes important? McStay, number one.
Yep.
And the guy that's not there at the moment in Cox.
Yeah.
You know, so because you look at Mychek's a star, and Membry's a very, very good player. As you know, he gets 2 shots on goal, kick 2 goals. But are they capable of taking the ball at the highest point in front of Harris Andrews or someone of that quality behind the footy and outmark or bring the ball to ground? Yes, maybe bring it to ground, best case scenario, but they're not going to outmark a Harris Andrews because he's 200 centimetres, he's got longer levers, he reads it so well. These guys are 6'2.5" guys. 6'3" max coming up against 200 centimetre elite intercept markers. You need someone with longer levers that can bring the ball to ground. Hopefully take a mark, kick a goal, but at least bring the ball to ground in those pressure games.
Are you
not saying he should be in the team? Is that what you were going to ask?
Yeah, I was going to say, are you suggesting that Cox could be a sort of wild card though?
I'm saying if these guys aren't performing, and they're both. I mean, Mychek kicked one. Gardner, who's struggling to get a kick against me when I was coaching Bull Ants 2 years ago in VFL when we only won 2 games through the year. And he was 5 possession getting player at VFL, and he's keeping
him up.
Mychek to 1 goal. And then Membry was quiet as well. You may as well have Cox that's not high possession getting player, that's at least able to bring the ball to ground. And he's that get out kick inside 50 when there's nothing else on, because he's hard to stop when the ball's put in that area.
Do you think that Cox? Yeah, a bit of a now my mind's going 100 million miles an hour because now I'm thinking that Cox all of a sudden can be a secret weapon. We know we can do in finals. We know he's proven in finals, and
plus he can ruck and he goes in the ruck and he can tap the ball as well, if not better than Cameron. Especially centre bounces. We get really good looks from him in centre bounces, and we can get really proactive. Whereas Cameron sort of wrestles and then it's a 50-50 between him and the other ruck. Cox is, an extra however many centimetres taller, and his arms, he's got the reach with his arms as well. So and then McStay can stay in the forward line and become that get-out kick as well. So you've got, it just depends on who you come up against as well. And but, the finals are all slowed down. Everyone's exhausted. Everyone's trying to catch a breath. The ball's moved a little bit slower on the way in. On probably 20-30% more occasions, and you need someone that can contest it aerially.
Would you chuck him in against Hawthorn?
I think you'd have to consider. I don't think they'll do it. I don't think I would have the guts to do it either just yet. I'd want one more look first to see if they can get it done. I'd want one more look. But definitely, if it doesn't work this week, doesn't connect well, I'd be bringing him in the following.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Look, we'll move on from Brisbane because I could talk about that game all day. What I want to talk about now, and what we talked about off air, is all of these trade contract rumours. The biggest one being John Ralph put out yesterday. Sorry, we're recording this on Wednesday, I should say. So he put out on Tuesday that Bo McCreary, contracted till 2027, has got Gold Coast coming after him. Sam Edmonds said Jamie Elliott is looking to move to Queensland. Mychek might not be happy. There's a bit of unhappiness around some of the players regarding going after Jack Silvagni. As a former player and being around, players coming in and out all the time, and Malthouse and stuff wanting to better the team, and you being coming in as from a trade itself. How did you find all of this sort of stuff, and the media just itself talking about it?
Yeah, look, for me, as a player, I don't think players look at these things too much. I mean, I didn't. I mean, you've got to back yourself in. You got to say, no matter who comes in, I've got to be fit enough. I've got to be good enough. I've got to be in good enough form to force my way into the side and play well in each and every week, regardless of who gets traded in and out. Because players are coming and going all the time. You're going to have 4 or 5 new draftees, a couple of new rookies, a couple of trades. That's just the going thing that happens. You're not going, oh, mate, he's coming in. I'm cooked. I'm done. Yeah, you're low on confidence as a player and as a human if that's the way you're thinking. Anyway, that's just the way I thought. And, mate, I wasn't a star. So if I'm thinking that way, I'm sure most of the Collingwood players that are playing well at the moment aren't thinking about Jack Silvagni. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, Jack Silvagni for me is someone who's probably going to replace Jeremy Howe when he finishes in 12 months' time or 2 years' time or whenever. Plus, in the meantime, he can still play a similar role, or he can play forward or wing or wherever. So he's a utility. You can put him wherever you like. So he's not necessarily taking someone's spot. He's just added to the depth of the team. And as you know, you get injuries all the time. So
just look at what's happening now. Like, we would kill for a Silvagni or just any defender just in general when we've got 2 guys out for 6 weeks. It just, the correlation that John Ralph, and look, this might sound like a pot shot at John Ralph, but it's not. But the correlation for saying we're going after someone to better our team to then saying players are unhappy because we're trying to better our team. Just logically, that just doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, I think you just got to, players coming in and out, it's end of story, just move on pretty quickly. But the one thing that, I didn't know if I was going to mention this at all, but I was speaking to someone in-house, Carlton. Exclusive, that's Dutchy and Swoop Show exclusive.
That is involved right in the inner sanctum at Carlton. And I said, have we got him or not about Jack Silvagni? And he goes, you can have him. And I go, well, what do you mean? And he's going, like he's a suspect character. That's what he said. But this come from one person. I don't know from a bar of soap, and I feel kind of half bad saying that. But it is good information to know that, that are they that happy about letting Jack Silvagni go? Is he got a bit of an ego, potentially? Is he hard to deal with? Is he hard to coach? Do some of the players there not get along with him? I don't know. I'm just saying someone right in the inner sanctum that I know personally has told me that maybe they're happy for him to leave.
Yeah, far.
And he didn't give me the reasons why, but maybe I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. Maybe he's a little bit suspect.
Bit of a watch this space. But we need him, or we need someone like him, and there's no one else really on the market. Like we got no draft picks. We're going to have draft picks, but they're going to go to 3 or 4 NGA and a father son. Free agency is where it's at, and free agency that's why Brisbane and Gold Coast are heavily linked to Jamie Elliott as well. And this wasn't just a new thing that Sam.
Well, as you see, you get it right. You get it right. You get 2 good players in. You get a couple of good draftees. All of a sudden, you're a bottom 8 team to a top 8 team overnight. You couldn't do that 10 years ago. Now it's, you can renovate on the run and make things happen quite quickly, can't you? So you've got to take advantage of it. And there might be 2 years where there's high-quality players on the go, and then there might be another 2 where there's not much around. And you've missed the boat completely. All of a sudden, there's 4 years gone where you haven't taken advantage of the trades or obviously those unrestricted agents.
Exactly right. And like the CBA is going up as well. I remember when in 2022 we were going after Dan McStay. As a free agent, and I think it was reported that he was on $650 a year for 4 or 5 years, whatever he was coming on. And I remember a lot of Collingwood supporters and a lot of Oppo were like, "That's so much for a guy that's you're going to be your first forward and stuff." And now $650 looks like just getting minimum chips from the fish and chip shop, because that's probably what you're just going rate. I think the base rate's like $450.
I think any solid 6'5", 6" key forward that can play a role in any given week and be a solid contributor in your first 18 is worth $800,000.
100%.
In today's market. So $650, you'd be like,
you absolutely laughing.
Cheap as chips.
Just need him to play that role and not go down back, because that's the biggest thing. Once Frampton Howe comes back,
you've got to get the balance right.
Yeah, look, one thing I wanted to sort of wanted to touch on, which has been on most of the footy shows, is Nick Daicos. Now, probably one of the shoe-ins for, maybe not a shoe-in, but definitely up there for the Brownlow this year.
Yeah.
I saw a stat from David King, and I wish I remembered the actual number, but it was between 40 and 46% of our scores this year have gone through Nick Daicos, which is number one in the league.
That's huge.
Which is great. You sort of want that because he's your key playmaker.
Yeah.
There were times over the last couple of weeks where, and the guys on the couch pulled it up as well, where Nick's calling for it in really awkward positions. I remember one time on the weekend, Markov's running into the forward line. Nick's right there calling for the ball. He gets handballed it. It goes inside 50. That's great. But it wasn't a better position than Markov was in. Are we becoming too Nick-centric? And, he only had, 3 touches in that last quarter or something. So they're knowing how to push him and punish him.
Yeah.
What? How do we sort of change that? And is it the half-back thing that you've been talking about?
Yeah, it's one of those things when you get put in heated games and you're a couple of goals down and you're looking to your best players to do the work a little bit, aren't you, sometimes? And it can backfire. It really can. And you've seen it time and time again in grand finals where your best players don't play well and someone jumps up, and kicks a few goals that you'd least expected or has a blinder and you go, where did that come from? That guy's not that good.
Yeah.
It's because all the pressure goes on to those players. So you've got to have confidence in using anyone and everyone, and it has to be an even effort against high-quality teams and also even more so in finals. So I think we do have to get a bit better at that. We've got good players all over the ground. We've got to have faith in all of those guys. And Nick's got to get really good at not calling for the ball when he's not in a pristine spot to receive. So he's got to consider that as well. There is a good art, or a bit of an art to being able to not call for the ball when you're not in the perfect position. A lot of guys just give it to me. I want the footy in hands. But to go, no, not me. And that guy gets back, cuts through, and then finds space somewhere else.
Yep.
That is, something probably he needs to work on a little bit. But I think he's one of those, eager young guys that just wants the best for the footy club and wants to get the job done. And he thinks he's got confidence in himself, but you need to, get that balance right.
Yeah, and I think it's less of an egotistical thing and more of, I'm going to try and help us win. Like, I know my skills. I want to win this game for the club. I want the club to win this game. Yeah. And I think, maybe sometimes biting off more than he can chew. But again, you want the ball in his hands because he's the best user of it. And I know someone that you want to talk about who is another good user of the ball that we're not utilising is Dan Houston. 11 disposals on the weekend. We talked about the overlapping run that we're not really having. How do we utilise the dual Australian back-to-back half-backer?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it goes hand in hand with our ball movement at the moment. I think if we can find a way to shift lanes and switch the play out of defence, someone like that's going to become more important. Because if I don't know how many times we won the ball back in D50 and went straight back down the same spot that the ball came from.
Yep.
I mean, that's where all the players are. That's where the don't we want to 45 it and free it up and lane shift and get the overlap and start to find space through the corridor or the open side. If we can do that, 30% more times, then someone like a Houston's doubling his possession rate potentially. Yeah. And that's what you want, don't you? You want someone who's the elite, probably the best kick in the game just about. You want the ball in his hands. At the moment, I think he had 8 or 9 possessions or something on the weekend. That's just not enough for a hard-running, rebounding halfback flanker that can use the ball like him. It might even be worth trying him on a wing. I don't know, because usually you get 15 possessions minimum, 20 possessions out of default on a wing. Not with the way we're playing because we're not using the wingers at the moment. But maybe if we've got some more experienced players consistently on the wings that we can go through them a little bit more. I think... there was one classic. I can't remember who had the footy. Darcy Moore was all in the 45, all on his own, and he was 20 metres clear on either side. We didn't go to him. We went long down the line, thinking, no wonder he's not playing as well as you would have liked. So go along with Houston. Darcy Moore's the same.
Yeah.
We've got to just use these guys and play with a bit more flair and dare.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway from that Brisbane game. I mean, for the last 4 weeks, really, it's just. we haven't had that dare, and hoping that that really comes back with with the likeness of Jeremy Howe and hopefully Billy Frampton. But another guy, and I know we're just talking about comparisons at the moment, but players are down on their luck at know right now. But another guy I want to talk about is Ned Long. Has had an incredible season, right? Incredible, keeping out a Premiership Brownlow medalist out of the team because he's been so good, and only at, you said 22, 23 or something like that. On the weekend, I know he was playing some sort of run with role, but he had 9 disposals, 5 of them were turnovers, and he went at 11% disposal efficiency in a game where you needed a contested possession player, lots of clearances, because you knew Brisbane were big body and they were going to come and get you. I would have thought Tom Mitchell would have played alongside Ned Long. Does that open the door now for, is Tom Mitchell like licking his lips and saying, this is Hawthorn games?
Well, we haven't seen the sides for
no, so they'll come out. They'll come out later on Wednesday.
I get a bit of a suspicion that maybe Long will be out and then Mitchell comes in and they'll just rest him and then decide based on how Mitchell plays tomorrow night whether they leave him in or bring Ned Long in. That's my gut feel. Once again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. You got to give your most, the player that's been there all year, young player, that's got more upside. He's getting the job done. You can't drop him. Regardless of who Tom Mitchell is. You can find a way to bring Tom Mitchell in and move other players around, but what they've done so far has worked up until now. Now, the Mitchell thing, I don't know if it's going to work or not. I hope it is, but maybe it is that they bring him in and Ned, they leave Ned Long out, and we'll see how that works moving forward. But Ned Long, if he's fit and firing in good form, I'd love to see him stay in the team. He's 6'3" or 4". He's built like a brick shit house.
He really
He's tough over the footy. He's hard to stop. He's had an off day against a high-quality team, and he'll learn from that, and he'll get better for that moving forward. There's no question about that. I don't think you'll see him play like that again. Just be interesting to see what they do, but I get the feeling that Mitchell's in and he's out.
Well, fingers crossed. I absolutely love Tom Mitchell. Let's talk about the Hawthorn game now. So this game, I said at the start, it is do or die. And it's so, I remember on my preview of the game, I was saying that it's really weird sitting in second position, 3 games left of the home and away season, saying that a game is do or die. We're not playing ninth or whatever it is. We need to win at least 2 of our next 3 games to finish top 4. All 3 games to finish in the top 2. We've got a hard run, not as easy as the AFL favourites in the Geelong Pussycats, but
that is ridiculous, isn't it? The run that they've had on the way home, the size that they play, and then the interstate teams they play GMHBA, and they go on about Collingwood playing at the G. Yeah, we play the G, but we play tough teams at the G.
Yeah, we play the good teams at the G.
I'd rather play on a paddock, away against some other team that's not that good, to be honest. But anyway, go on.
We do have a tough run. It starts with Hawthorn. They put up a good fight against the Crows. On the weekend, bit of a shootout. They tried that four-pronged attack with Chol, Deer, Lewis and Gunston. Worked out here and there, but they've still got those smalls in Ginnivan and Watson. Their backline's probably the only thing that's a little bit touch and go at the moment. Can we win this game? 2, how do we win this game after what we showed against Brisbane?
Yeah, we've always sort of struggled a little bit with Hawthorn. I don't think we got them last time, but, for whatever reason, the teams that keep the ball off us are the ones that worry us a little bit with uncontested marks and building their uncontested marking game and playing a little bit slower and bubbling up and then putting our defenders on heat once they win the ball forward of centre. This is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. And, there's just so much on the line for both teams, isn't there? The one thing, the battle I'm interested in is Meek versus Cameron as well. But Meek's a very good ruckman, strong ruckman, very good tap ruckman as well. So, we need to get hold of, him if we can and give our midfielders the ascendancy at ground level. We need to get back on track in terms of, being able to be a little bit more accountable at ground level. I think we're playing off and not reacting quickly enough at ground level around stoppage. Hawthorn are obviously going to have some great ground level players in there as well. So But I like to see us defend really well, cover off, force them long down the line like opposition teams have been doing to us.
Yeah.
And then and being a little bit stronger with those aerial contests as well, and making sure that we get good position. And then other players protecting the Darcy Moores and the Darcy Camerons of the world, and not allowing someone to, every time someone tries to block one of these guys, there's someone else coming from nowhere and blocking them first.
Yeah.
So hunting the hunters and going, if you're going to block him, mate, I'm going to block you first. Yeah, and then analyse who those players might be and really target them and make sure that our best aerial players are given some space in the air.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, and then without Will Day really helps as well. It helps us.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Sucks for them, but I think it all comes down to the pressure. You know, for a long time this season, we were the pressure pies. We were incredible with our pressure, and that's gone away these last. Except for the
Bobby Hill hasn't been there for 5 weeks up to the weekend.
Bo McCreary as well.
Bo's our best, and Bobby's our best chase down tackler just about. Lockie Schultz has been doing a pretty good job on his own, really.
He's been a one-man army. A one-man army. And it's just... I think that's where it all comes down from. On the weekend against the Lions, a lot of tackles just weren't getting stuck. And I'd wish Champion Data would release a statistic that showed us broken tackles or something like that, or attempted tackles that just weren't stuck. Because I reckon we had over 24 on the weekend where Ashcroft and stuff were just ripping through us and you know, getting goals, assists because of it and stuff like that. So I think it all comes down to we need to be harder at the footy because Hawthorn are going to chuck the kitchen sink at us. We haven't beaten Hawthorn twice in a season since 2011.
Yeah, well,
so that's 14 years. 14
wow,
years ago.
That's crazy, isn't it?
So
who would have thought? So they have had a great
nuts.
record against us for whatever reason.
They're a bogey side.
So this is huge. I mean, we literally, if we don't win this, you know, there's going to be some writing on the wall, isn't there? Really, they're going to tear the joint down. There's going to be some serious pressure on us. Moving forward. So it'll be. I like the mental side of this game for both teams. Hawthorn to stay in the mix, us to stay in the mix for the top 2 and top 4 as well. And it's going to be a pressure game. So, you know, players don't want to make mistakes. They get a little bit nervous coming in and anxious. Adrenaline's pumping. You know, I think we're up for the challenge on this one. I really do. It'd be great to have Howie back. Hopefully Frampton's in this team as well. Some sharp changes. I think Dean's a good young player, but he's just this far off at the moment. I just think he's this far off. So, you know, I think of those players is certainly going to help, and can't wait to get McCreary back in a couple of weeks as well. That's
the biggest one. Look, I'm not a betting man, but you can bet that Ginnivan's going to kick 3 or 4 goals. That's just he just always shows up against us now.
He does. I'd like to see them just play a more dour brand on him this week. Just because he gets them going.
He does.
You know,
like he was with us, the spark.
Yeah, and you know, he's a real cheat too. Like he's the old-fashioned cheat. Like he doesn't go to the footy. He'll wait till you go to the ball and he starts heading north towards goals.
The old cherry picker.
And he gets out the back. He's very smart at doing it. He does it at the right time. You got to give him credit. But you know, you couldn't play like that when I first started playing because you had someone right there.
Right up on you.
You know, and he would have struggled in the older game, I reckon. He would have struggled a little bit more. Still be a decent player, but he wouldn't be kicking his 2s and 3s like he does now. Because you had a player right there. He's good at letting you go to the footy and darting out the back. But like you said, they've got those three tools up forward that are going to be hard to contain. Frampton has to come back in for one of those guys, no question about that. I think Howie could come in and maybe take the smallest of those 3 potentially, if need be, and then we get a little bit of run from behind, and that should suit as well. So that's the way I'd play it. Bring Frampton in for whether it be Chol, then obviously you got Darcy Moore for maybe Deer or who's the other one they got down? Lewis down there, mate, probably Lewis. Yep. And then maybe Howie can just go onto Deer, and they just keep rolling off depending on who goes deepest. You know, Frampton just keeps going to the deepest tall out of those 3. I would say. Yeah, it's going to be a real interesting one on a Thursday night. Look, before we leave, just want a quick word on: are you worried about the Pies at the moment? Oh, I'm not worried. Like, I think look, Brisbane are a bloody good side.
Yeah, they are.
You know, like, I mean, we're this far away.
Yep.
We're this far away. You got to consider. I just don't think we're that much better than the opposition, like people thought.
Yeah, I can see that.
We potentially can be the top team again if we get things right. But, there's some good sides in it. Fremantle flying. Brisbane, they won the flag last year. Yeah. So they're still the team to beat as far as I'm concerned. And we're right in the mix with all of those teams. I reckon it's out of those probably 3 or 4 teams we spoke about. Adelaide, everyone's talking about, and I love the way that they balance up and they set up and their 3-prong attack up forward. But they've still got a young team. They've got to come to the MCG at some stage to win a grand final. Yep. And how are they going to cope with that? It's not easy when you're a young team, so many players playing finals for the first time. So I think the finals team comes out of probably Brisbane and Collingwood, maybe Fremantle for me.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but I'm not worried about Collingwood at the moment. We've got players that come back in. We're touch unsettled. We've been managing players all year. We've got to find a way to get our wings in place. Frampton and Howe back in. Let's get McCreary in a couple of weeks and just lock it in.
That's it.
And let's not. You only get dropped not from any management or
just injury
anything.
or
injury
bad,
or nothing.
Bad form.
Yep. Injury or bad form, and away we go. And just let's get some pressure from underneath from guys just dominating the VFL and showing their hand at VFL and not just getting a game when they play okay.
Yep.
Because there's management issues, they've got to be banging the door down severely, and that puts pressure on the team, the players to perform any given week.
100%. I think that's the biggest team. We have been unsettled for so long. This week we'll start getting some of those players back, like you mentioned. We'll start looking more settled, and this should be minus maybe Bo McCreary at the moment. Should be our most settled side that we've had all year. Now that we've got Jordan De Goey back, and he is going to be a weapon leading up to finals. We know how well his finals record is. Let's just get past Hawthorn first, and we'll see what we do from there. Dutchy, thank you so much, mate. This has been fun.
Thanks, buddy. Look forward to next week already.
That's it. Go Pies.